Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It is Sean Stanley, Squared Circle Digest, coming to you with a little bit of information. The ratings are in for AEW, Mercedes Moné's debut. A lot of talk going on about AEW and what they can work on. I'm going to talk about my plan, my opinion on what they can do. And we have a lot of information coming your way here in the next couple minutes. Mercedes Moné debuts at AEW Big Business. The ratings are in. They got an 8-10. The ratings, okay? I mean, again, I understand. Ratings are not what they used to be. A lot of people don't use them. Some people do. I do. Do I use them for everything? Are they the all be all of everything? No. But they do give you an idea of what's happening. Okay. And for AEW Big Business, an 8-10, which was down a little bit from last week. But here is the thing. And thanks to WrestleNomics and Brandon Thurston and though over at WrestleNomics, they break it down for quarter hours. When Mercedes Moné debuts, they're at a 1.0. So Mercedes Moné had eyes at the beginning of the show on AEW. After that, it went down. And unfortunately, by the end of the night, it was at its lowest. And I think that is also, though, a pattern because I believe maybe, possibly, AEW fans, if you tune in and you watch what happens on AEW TV, not every week, but most weeks, you start out with a big main event and say MJF is in that match. Do you see him again at the end of the show? Most of the time, no. So I believe a lot of people thought, okay, they saw the Mercedes Moné and they started doing other things. Didn't stick around to see Mercedes Moné at the end. To them, it was Rio versus Willow, which was a great match. Nothing wrong with the match. But again, as I was alluding to, what I feel the issue with AEW TV is right now is you're not emotionally invested in the characters. Willow does her damnedest, and I guarantee you she has a lot of fans. But are you emotionally invested to stick around for 2 hours to watch her fight Rio? And has Rio got your attention in AEW? This to me is where Tony Khan has in AEW. So I'll say Tony Khan because he's the man in charge. I feel they do not get character development and the arc of a character to where you become emotionally invested and want to stick around and watch that talent wrestle. They don't do that with enough talent. Let me put it that way. To where you stick around and watch, for the whole 2 hours. In-ring talent, superb. But that's only going to get you so far, unfortunately, with a lot of wrestling fans. Your hardcore wrestling fans, they're going to tune in. You've got them. That's your base fans. You can see what your base fans are. That's usually probably what the ratings would tell you, who your base fans are. But to me, they have done, especially in the last year, maybe year and a half, I feel they have not done enough to get me to invest my time, my emotions into any of their characters. The one they did would probably be what? MJF? How much of that was MJF and the devil? That angle. And I'll use an example, and I get it. It's WWE, so all the AEW fans are like, oh, here he goes. I'm not bashing on AEW at all. But what I'm saying is Take a wrestler like Sami Zayn, okay? And I get it. People like Sami Zayn before. But when he did the whole bloodline thing, he was flailing around mid-card area. Organically, it works with the bloodline. You see him have the battles with KO where it's his best friend and it's the bloodline. What's he going to do? You see all that playing out on TV. You start emotionally investing in Sami Zayn. You watch him. You watch the battles he's having on what he thinks he should be doing and what he's actually doing. Then it comes to a head and he has to make a stand and make the decision. And he hits Roman in the back with a chair, and then Sami just rose up from there. You watch the character arc and development rise up and go from there. Logan Paul does a lot on his own. I get that, but he's become that guy, even on TV now. And I hate his promos, but you want to watch him get his ass kicked. Using AEW right now, when you look at the Don Callis family, Kyle Fletcher, great in the ring. Takeshita, great in the ring. Hobbs, building up. I haven't seen enough of him. He comes in and he goes, and they don't use him enough. And I'll get into the big guy thing with Tony Khan in a minute. But as singles, you're not invested in them. You throw Don Callis in there with them, and they're getting booed out the building. People are more invested in the Don Callis, in hating Don Callis and hoping Don Callis gets his ass kicked, than they are about any of the family that's with them. And I was thinking about this, and again, my opinion, Bryan Danielson doing a great job helping out the young talent and everything else. But am I invested in watching Bryan Danielson on Dynamite or Collision anymore? No. Will I watch him and Will Ospreay? Yes. But I'm a hardcore wrestling fan. I'm going to watch it regardless. But if I had a choice, which I do, but I'm a hardcore wrestling fan, I'm going to sit there and watch Bryan Danielson wrestle because I like the way he wrestles. But if you're asking a wrestling fan, a casual wrestling fan, I know the casual wrestling fan gets thrown around a lot, but if you're asking that casual wrestling fan, are you sticking around to watch Bryan Danielson wrestle? Who did he wrestle this past week? I forget who he even wrestled. But when you sit there, are you invested to where you're going to sit there and watch that match? Right now, I would have to say no. Same with Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho's hook. I'm not invested in that match anymore. I love what Chris Jericho's doing with the young talent. I love that he's bringing the young talent up. I love that he, did the little storyline with the CMLL guy where he fought his dad when he was younger, and now the younger son is fighting Chris Jericho. I understand all that. I get all that. And I get he's doing the Lionheart and he's doing all this stuff, but I was more invested in him when I'm singing his songs at a ring. When you're singing Judas to the Ring, at least I'm invested in that. Not so much in Jericho anymore. And what's funny is that's really like the last 2 weeks. And to me, since Revolution, the AEW TV programming on Dynamite, on Collision, has gotten a lot better. It's gained momentum. And I was thinking also about the 3 new acquisitions. Will Ospreay, come in. We know he's fantastic. We know he's superb in the ring. I didn't know about his, how he could personality as far as that goes. Then he has his match with Takeshita, which, listen, I know those two tore down the house. But before that match, there was no buildup to me. I get Don Callis' family says to beat the best competition, they got to wrestle themselves. Okay, that's the story we're going with. I was not invested in that. When those two started beating the crap out of each other and you started watching those moves, you have to become invested in the match. And AEW does that well, by the way. You get invested when you watch the match. It's the lead up to the match that is the issue with AEW. And unfortunately, that's your TV ratings. But getting back to Will Ospreay, you see him in the press conference joking around a little bit. He's got the bruise, this and that, and you start seeing, a little bit of his thing. They even sends out the X or Instagram of, oh, here's a meme for you, and it's him doing the little laugh, right? You're seeing that side of him. Then he comes out, he's fired up, and he's getting you ready for the Bryan Danielson match, and you're starting to be able to invest in that character, that arc with Will Ospreay. Okada, they want him to be hated. They put him with Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. They're talking most of the time. Okada says one thing to Alex Mone: you did not say happy birthday to my friend Matthew Jackson. Then he went to say happy birthday. He said, no. Sing happy birthday. And you're just like, that son of a... But you're able to invest. You're starting to see that. And again, since Revolution, I'm seeing a little bit more arc. Jay White splitting up the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. Thank you. Not only did it not make sense to have your 2 6-man tag teams in a group together, to me, again, all Sean Stanley's opinions, but to me, you have wasted away a little bit of Jay White. That was his first singles match this past Wednesday night this year, March 13th, and Jay White is getting his first singles match. How is that not a crime? AEW in the beginning did a great job of introducing some of the younger talents and getting you to invest in them, right? It was Darby Allin taking on, Cody and showing his toughness. It was Orange Cassidy battling Chris Jericho, and you started understanding his character. It was MJF, hosing Cody, becoming that scumbag. And you slowly started seeing those guys build up to what they are today. Orange Cassidy, one of the toughest guys. Darby, just the risk taker. MJF, our favorite scumbag. You watch those guys develop and you grow with them, and you're seeing, it pay off for those guys. But I don't see that now with anybody else right now. Up until Revolution, you're starting to see a little bit more now. Maybe they had a game plan. Let's get the Revolution reset. These last couple weeks, programming wise, have been very good for AEW. I don't care about, again, ratings. I don't care about that. I use that to look at and go, okay, they're missing out on what part of the audience. They have their hardcores. You have your AEWs can do no wrong, WWE can do no right, just like you got your WWE can do no wrong and AEW can do no right. You have those extremes. Me, I like all wrestling. I do prefer more of the entertainment side leading up to the matches in the ring to get me invested. I'm old school that way. And again, maybe it's because that's what I've been conditioned to see. But to me, that I like being able to be invested. And again, the Bloodline, Cody Rhodes, finished the story. That angle has been going for a long time, okay? But the AEW is doing a great thing with the Devil storyline too. There's a lot there. Now, what I will say is what they've done with the storyline of the Devil and United Kingdom afterwards, to me, is baffling. You have Wardlow, who you've had, right? He was MJF's muscle, and then the breakup, and then he goes out on his own. He wins the TNT title. Then he loses the TNT title. Then he gets his head shaved. Then he comes back, and he's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Then you find out he's part of the Undisputed Kingdom. He's their muscle. You have Roddy, you have the Kingdom, you have Adam Cole, you have Wardlow. And I'm like, man, now this could get good. This could get good. You send them into the Pack challenge because you can't do the meat match because of injuries. He wins that. Oh, man. He's title match at his choosing. Then it's announced in 2 weeks, Wardlow will take on Samoa Joe. What? Why? You have the Swerve and you have Samoa Joe storyline going. Wardlow can call in at this. Why not use that as you have this big guy who might not even need to call in. He could probably beat, Joe by himself without the call in. You have that always hanging out there. But instead, you put it on the thing at Dynamite. And yes, Wardlow got most of the match, most of the moves. Even Joe trying to do his move out of the way. Wardlow with the secret code figures it out and hits him. But then at the end, he gets choked out. The United Kingdom, man, the Undisputed Kingdom's muscle from the Devil storyline is choked out. Where do they go next? Where does Wardlow go next? What do you do with the Undisputed Kingdom? What do you do with Wardlow? Unless he's leaving or they're kicking him out of the group? Like, what have you just done? And that leads me to what I heard or saw written where big guys are to Tony Khan what little guys were to Vince McMahon. And it's true. It's almost like Tony Khan doesn't know what to do with the big guy. And I'm not sitting here saying they've got to go undefeated and this and that, but you couldn't have done something better. You just worked, 5-6 months on this Devil angle to show that it's Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, the Kingdom, and Wardlow. And then in less than a little over 3 months, they've done not much. Roddy has won the international championship. But other than that, you just had their muscle choked out on TV. So just my 2 cents on what I think right now AEW could do a little bit better, but I will tell you now, their in-ring talent, superb. Their roster's good. And that's the other thing I hear going around, like, oh, whose roster's better? The rosters are what they want for what they're trying to do. I think AEW has the best roster for what AEW is trying to do with in-ring talent. Now, I'm not saying that people on WWE roster can't do what AEW wrestlers do, and I'm not saying what AEW wrestlers can't do what WWE wrestlers are doing. But to me, WWE has the entertainment side, and their roster is best for that. And the in-ring talent in AEW, which is what AEW focuses on, is pretty damn good for their roster. So I'm not sitting here saying, oh, that anybody in AEW couldn't go to WWE and be successful. And I'm not saying WWE can't go to AEW and be successful. But the two have set up good rosters for what they're trying, what their vision of the company is. But to me, AEW needs to take a little bit more of a stance on storyline arcs and character development. Then you will get fans emotionally invested and tuning in more frequently. Because you've had numbers. Your numbers aren't bad now in the ratings. Squared Circle Digest, 8 p.m. Tuesday, right here, Stanley Media House YouTube channel.